On this episode of Motorsport recently, we look back at the Hungarian Grand Prix and the Honda Indy 200 at Mid-Ohio, as Daniel Ricciardo changed to Renault, and I have some PPG Indycar news. This is Triple Crown Racing, let's get into it! So last weekend, we had the Hungarian Grand Prix. Going into this race, Lewis Hamilton was leading the championship, followed by Sebastian Vettel. Vettel, as I had made apparent, had a disastrous German Grand Prix, meaning that Lewis Hamilton was quite far ahead in the championship. Qualifying was interesting to say the least, with the highlight of the session being Pierre Gasly actually out-qualifying Max Verstappen. It was once again a Mercedes front row, with Lewis Hamilton out-qualifying Valtteri Bottas, with the two Ferraris in third and fourth. So the race got underway, and almost immediately Max Verstappen's engine blew up, meaning that he went into a massive rage. Daniel Ricciardo was the one to watch and was spent the whole of his race going right from the back and making his way to the front. Sebastian Vettel controlled the race until his first pit stop. He was trying a strategy similar to the one that he tried in Canada, where he would overcut his opponents by staying out significantly longer than everyone else. Not only did the overcut not work, but a botched pit stop meant that he lost 2 places, coming out in third place behind Valtteri Bottas. Bottas was appointed Hamilton's wingman by Toto Wolff and was tasked with holding off the 2 Ferraris behind him. Bottas's effort to defend against the 2 Ferraris didn't work because when Vettel made a pass, Bottas then tried to come back at him, meaning that he damaged his car. With a significantly damaged car, he was very slow, and it was actually caught up to by Daniel Ricciardo. Daniel Ricciardo tried to make a move, but Bottas was in the inside and actually ended up blowing him up, basically. Ricciardo was very heavily damaged, but he still managed to get past Valtteri Bottas a little bit later on, and he held on to his position, and Bottas lost out to Ricciardo. Bottas had completed his mission, though, and had actually given Hamilton enough time to get away from the 2 Ferraris, and Hamilton came home to win, followed by Sebastian Vettel and Kimi Räikkönen. Nobody cares though, because Pierre Gasly finished 6th. Just as Charles Leclerc is doing, Pierre Gasly is showing that the next crop of Formula 1 drivers are more talented than ever seen before. Anyway, Lewis Hamilton still leads the championship and now has a 24-point lead over Sebastian Vettel. I don't think I have anything more to say about this other than the fact that Valtteri Bottas has now become the new Rubens Barrichello. Anyway, this is some very interesting news that broke over the last couple of days. Daniel Ricciardo is going to Renault. The only way he's ever going to go back to he's ever going to go to Renault is if Sainz decides to go back to the Red Bull stable. But I don't think Renault is where he'd want to be anyway. So Ricciardo probably won't leave Red Bull because he has no other option. Yeah, so I was wrong. Ricciardo's move to Renault has changed the driver market situation significantly, as does Lance Stroll's very potential move to Force India. Let's talk about this. Ricciardo will move to Renault, partnering Nico Hülkenberg. Carlos Sainz Jr. will most likely fill the empty seat at Red Bull. However, Carlos Sainz is also linked with McLaren, which him actually going there is extremely unlikely. But then again, we never thought that Daniel Ricciardo was going to end up in a Renault next year. But there is also a new problem this presents, and that is if Stroll moves to Force India, Esteban Ocon has nowhere to go. Ocon was originally linked with Renault before the Grand Prix, but Daniel Ricciardo has filled his seat. Ocon really has nowhere to go if Lance Stroll does end up moving to Force India. The only place I see him actually going is Williams. If he doesn't, well, there isn't really anywhere else for him to go. This whole story has changed the driver market significantly, and I actually want to do a whole video on the driver market. If you want me to do that, please let me know in the comments below. Is this a good move for Ricciardo? Honestly, I don't think there is any real way to tell. Red Bull will be going through a transitional period next year because they're going to Honda engines, and no one really knows if Renault are going to be competitive next year either. I guess what mainly influenced his decision is that Red Bull will be changing next year, and well, Renault isn't. What do you guys think? So last weekend we had the Honda Indy 200 at Mid-Ohio. Coming into this round, Scott Dixon had quite a lead in the championship, with Joseph Newgarden falling behind. A very important thing happened coming into this race as well, though. Pietro Fittipaldi, after his horrific accident at the 6 Hours of Spa, has made his IndyCar racing return. However, he still had like a leg brace on or something, so a good result was pretty unlikely. In qualifying, it was Alexander Rossi on pole, followed by Will Power and Ryan Hunter-Reay. Dixon had a difficult qualifying because the red flag came out pretty early on, and his team couldn't improve his time that he'd set earlier in the session. Therefore, the championship leader would be starting 9th. So the race got underway, and Rossi started off dominating, running away from the rest of his opponents. Anyway, there was some really awesome on-track action all throughout the field. However, the guy to watch was Sebastian Bourdais, who had started right from the back of the field and put on an almost Hamilton-esque drive, pretty much carving everyone up and making his way to the front of the field. Rossi dominated the early part of the race, but on lap 24 he was struggling with the strategy he was on, and Newgarden made a great pass down the inside, taking the lead away from Alexander Rossi. However, Newgarden pit shortly after he made the pass. Rossi stayed out aiming for a risky two-stop strategy, so there was realistically three people in contention for the win: Robert Wickens, Rossi, Newgarden and Power. Wickens' race was ruined by lap traffic, and while Newgarden and Power battled and abandoned the two-stop strategy, Rossi ran away from everyone else. Nobody thought that his strategy was going to work, but he ended up making it work, and he came home to win the race. He then did some celebratory donuts, which ended up with him getting beached. Sebastian Bourdais made an incredible comeback, finishing 6th. Scott Dixon still leads the championship, but second place has swapped around, and Alexander Rossi takes it away from Newgarden. Next up is Pocono, and I cannot wait to see what happens at the Tricky Triangle. Alright, so I have some very cool news relating to the PPG Indycar Championship on Forza 7. It would be a cardinal sin not to run a race at Indianapolis in an IndyCar league, so unsurprisingly we are racing at Indy. But as I told you in a previous episode, I am part of Racers Alliance. From Racers Alliance, 3 people, including myself, are all participating in the PPG Indycar Championship, and possibly in the Indy 500. So we've come up with the ingenious idea to run matching schemes for the race. But we didn't know exactly what we were going to do for the livery, so we asked @FinnickArrow on Instagram to design a livery for us. And here are some of the concepts that he made for us. This is the number 15 that GGR Boy will drive. He's the owner of the championship, by the way. I'll be using the number 82, and Holtz Racing, also known as Pure Awesomeness Boy, will be running the number 33 if he ends up participating. This isn't the only bit of exciting news. The race at Road America will also be named after me, the Triple Crown Racing 100. I am so excited, and I hope that the race is at a time that I can make, because it's not every day that you get to participate in a race named after you. But wait, there's more. There are also talks at the race at Indianapolis being broadcast live and commentated. So you guys will actually be able to watch me race live if everything goes to plan. This hasn't been confirmed yet, but I'll keep you posted on what the story there is. That's going to do it for this episode of Motorsport Recently. As always, none of the footage I've used is mine. Links to the channels I borrowed from in the description below. I've also left links to my Instagram page and that of the PPG IndyCar Championship as well. I'll also leave a link to @FinnickArrow's page down in the description below as well. Anyways, goodbye.